First of all, I'd like to say thank you to that channel, giving me this opportunity to share my vision, my game, with the world. I'm extremely proud of its virtues, and I'm excited about its potential. My game teaches subliminally, and I feel like that's the best form of education, when you don't even realize it's happening. What it teaches is called phonological awareness, and I'll get to exactly what that is, but it's an important missing piece in the educational landscape right now for the English language. It's part of the obstacle that makes English a very difficult language to learn, to pronounce, and to spell, especially for new learners and dyslexics. And it's precisely those barriers that my game addresses and is a remedy for. Games are the royal road to effortless learning. The focus and intensity that you see in a game, when I see my son playing a game, he won't even answer me for 15 minutes. The intensity and the focus is what makes games the perfect vehicle for education. Fun, having fun during play, that's the key. That's the key to effortless learning. It's the strongest motivator. And my dream is to raise the literacy rate in individuals and even in nations with this game. Before I get into the phonics, let me describe how I got here. In 2003, I was a father, 2 kids. They were 3 and 5. And like most fathers, my intention was to get them the best education that money can buy. I came across 2 Toronto Sun articles, and they changed the course of my life. The first one was called How to Boost Your Child's IQ. And it was about the Gordon family, and the overview of the thing is that basically these 2 uneducated parents had 3 children who were ranked as Mensa geniuses. And they said the key was turning learning into play. That's the thing that started my road down towards edutainment. They claimed it's not difficult, it takes time, books, and educationally useful toys. I was already providing a stimulating environment for my children. They both had Macs at the age of 3 and 5. They had every educational game I could find. They had their books, their art supplies. I thought I had things covered until I read the second article, which was called Genius. Parents Say Any Child Can Be One. They interviewed 2 mothers. Now, these 2 mothers were educators, and between the 2 of them, the Susedics and the Taylors, they had 6 children. All of them were classified geniuses. For example, Susie was 11, in 3rd year taking pre-med courses in college. She was 11. Her mom claimed the methods for reaping such intellectual profit are painless. The key was phonics. Don't stop once you've taught your kids the alphabet, because once a child has mastered phonics, they can read anything, including college texts, and their daughters proved it. By breaking down words into proper sounds, children learn to analyze words and their definition. Training in phonics enables a child to think analytically and logically. Reading faster, pronouncing properly, and spelling correctly are important, but that's just the icing on the cake. These teachers of geniuses believe that learning phonics automatically leads to developing higher cognitive skills. So I was convinced. I activated my University of Toronto alumni card. I went to the OISE library, found their phonics section, and dived in. The very first book I opened, and the very first sentence I read was the inspiration for my game. And the sentence was, Wiley and Durrell demonstrated that a child's first 500 words are made from only 37 rhymes. Now, syllables can be split before the first vowel into 2 segments, onsets and rhymes. When you split a syllable, here's a little ditty I wrote about it. When you split a syllable, usually you find that it starts with an onset and it ends with a rhyme. Onsets are the consonants that come at the beginning. Rhymes start with a vowel and go to the syllable's ending. Now, for example, the word smart. It starts with the SM, that's the onset, and art is the rhyme. Why is this important? It turns out that not only are onsets and rhymes the fundamental building blocks of the English language. You got to remember that English was a spoken language long before it was a written language. Phonics, the onsets and rhymes are the key to decoding what is called vowel sound inconsistencies. Linguists call this phonological awareness. It's a metalinguistic skill. You sit back and reflect on how sounds are put together. That's what gives you phonological awareness. Anyway, if you divide words into onsets and rhymes, into onset and rhyme segments, it's easy to decipher how to pronounce them if you divide the written words. If you divide spoken words into onset and rhymes, it's easy to decipher how to spell them. Phonological awareness is the awareness of the logic behind spelling English phonetic sounds. So, vowel sound inconsistencies, that is possibly the most difficult thing about the English language. It turns English into an encrypted language for new learners and especially dyslexics. And for over 50 years, we've had the key to unlock this encryption. Onsets and rhymes were discovered in 1967, and to this day, I'm astounded by how few people know about it. So when I opened my first phonics book and I read that children make their first 500 words from 37 rhymes, I immediately thought that onsets and rhymes would be a worthy basis for a card game. And the card game's right here. I had the first thing I did was to print out these cards. I took Wiley's 37 rhymes, but I also went through 10,000 one-syllable English words one by one and found out the order of what are the most common to the least common onsets and rhymes in the language so that I could give them a value when we were playing the games. So in my onset and rhyme games, let me go back a bit. This technology, this linguistic technology has been around 50 years. What it does is it splits words into two. So my games became recombining these two segments, usually in the discard pile when we were playing with the cards, to make real words. Now, all other word games, all of them, all the apps you see, all of the word games that I've come across, they all use single letters. A 5-letter word in Scrabble or Scramble or Hangman require the combining of 5 separate units. In my onset rhyme games, every word is made from 2 pieces. And for this reason, the card games are very fast. Games stalled because players needed to spell check the words. They were just coming out so fast. And so I printed a booklet, onset rhyme booklet, and what it did was it accompanied the decks, and it showed a picture of each card and every word that you could make with it. On this, say, SP, you've got space, spad, spade, spale, spall, spam, span, spank, spar, spare. So this was actually poetry before Chaucer came along. It was alliteration. So just combining all these onsets, you could, anyway, I digress. The game stalled. This sped it up a lot, having this booklet to quickly check to see which words were actual, which words were nonsense words. But nothing sped it up like instant digital spell check. And that's why we got into creating the app version of the game. More recently, we have touch screen technology, which allows multi-touch, which takes it to another level of speed, because now you can make words in an instant. Bang, 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 bang. Fastest word game on the planet. Now, the importance of this game starts with the importance of the language, the English language. There's 7.5 billion people on the planet, and 1.5 billion, 1 in 5, speak English. 375 people learned English as their first language. Over 1 billion people have studied English as their second language. Over 1 billion. And it's by far the most studied second language. French is a distant second. English is the international language of commerce. It's the language of aviation. And all of this is because of the British Empire in the 19th century and the US in the 20th. It has nothing to do with English being an ideal language. Far from it. So now I'd like to talk about the two major flaws of the language. You can argue whether it's a flaw or a feature, but for dyslexics and learners, it certainly appears as a flaw. Non-English languages have a one-to-one correspondence between sounds and the letter. So a child learns the letters in a non-English language, and they pretty much can say every word in that language correctly. English, on the other hand, is vastly different. There are 20 different ways, there's over 20 different ways of saying the letter A. 22 different ways of pronouncing the letter A. Now, the second flaw of the language is that we don't have accents to show which way you pronounce that letter A or the letter E. There's just no clues at all. I mean, there are, but no clues that are evident for people who don't understand onsets and rhymes. So, to beginners and dyslexics, English vowel sound inconsistency, this ability to pronounce the letter A in 20 different ways, is a wall that blocks their progress towards fluency. It's a curse, the vowel sound inconsistency, but actually it turns out to have a very significant silver lining. English has the most words of any written language. In 1961, Webster's published its third international edition with 475,000 words. The next largest vocabulary is German, and they have less than half as many words as English does. English is the fastest growing language. We have approximately 2 words a day added. You could go to the Oxford Dictionary website, and every day they add 2 new words. And it's estimated now that English has approximately 1 million words. 1 million words. Now, without vowel sound inconsistencies, our language wouldn't have the extra vowel sounds needed to create so many different words. Now, my game introduces the most powerful tool for vowel sound decoding. There's 50 years of linguistic literature attesting to this fact. In 2009, Sarah Hines from the University of New York published an article about how onsets and rhymes worked with children who did not respond well to other forms of training. I'm astounded by the fact that very few people still know much about rhymes, onsets and rhymes. The technology's been around for over half a century. The beauty of this game is that it actually follows the natural pattern of language, so that the rules of the game are basically the rules of the language. The way you combine syllables. You do it the way we do in language, in our normal language. Learning happens extremely fast. You can witness it as you play. Your score keeps going up, and you can experience it in your life. That's as much as I've written right now. I'd like to say that what my hopes for this game at this point is that we have a release. This has been germinating for approximately a decade, and we're now currently in the marketing phase, and we hope it's going to be a financial success, but also in our heart, we're hoping that this is going to improve the lives of millions of people. Thank you very much.